If there's one thing Canadians love, it's history. We all know what happened in our history, but little is known about who we were in our history and what we were really like. Well, recently, a skeleton was unearthed in Canada dating back to 1850. Joining me in studio to tell us a little bit more about this exciting find is Dr. Harold Newsome. Hello, Mr. Newsome.
Yes, hello.
So, tell us a little bit more about this skeleton that you found, dating back to 1850.
That's right. We found a Caucasian Homo sapien male, and we've estimated the age at time of death to be in his late 60s.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about the physicality of this skeleton. What physically would have been different about, a Canadian in 1850?
First of all, the state at which we found the body was such that we were able to determine at that time Canadians were not getting around on foot. They were using their knees. The feet would have been simply for show. You'd only be on your feet for a formal introduction, but then the rest of the time you'd be on your knees.
Remarkable. How can you determine this?
The disintegration around where the bones had joined at the knee were in such poor repair that we can determine clearly this early Canadian would have just been scuttling around on his knees.
Now, why would that have been, do you think? What evolutionary purpose would that have served?
It must have been to protect these early Canadians from predators.
And what would those have been?
Could have been anything from bear to tiger. Even at that time, predators could come from the sky, a pterodactyl.
Really?
Yes.
So, do these remains tell you anything about, what people would have eaten in 1850?
Well, it's very clear from the skeleton that it was a predominantly vegetarian diet. First of all, there was only at that time an upper set of teeth. The lower jaw was barely developed, making eating not only a challenge, but communicating at that time would have been very challenging. It wouldn't have been using words as we know them, but perhaps visceral, guttural sounds. In a very rudimentary way, it would sound something like pow, 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 pow.
Wow. All of this from just one single skeleton. It's absolutely amazing.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about the environment. Do these bones tell us anything about what, the climate would have been like in the mid-1800s?
Yes. Well, immediately around the remains, we found several indicators. A cup, suggesting water was very important. As well as some rudimentary digging tools. Now, the thing that was most remarkable about that is that these tools really only would have been effective in sand. So what we can extrapolate from that is at that time, in that part of Canada, it wouldn't have been Canadian shield as we know it, but rather sand.
Remarkable. Now, Professor, I want to ask you, what does this definitively say about our history?
What it tells us is that Caucasian Homo sapiens roamed the earth almost 200 years ago. And we now know that for fact.
Well, I want to personally thank you for being on the program. It truly has been an eye-opening conversation, to think that you can determine all of this from just one single skeleton, and by no means is this just an isolated case.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yes, we can.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're listening to This Is That on CBC Radio 1. We're pretty sure that we're utilizing all of the social networks on the internet. But if we're missing any, let us know via our Facebook fan page, or you can always Twitter us at CBC This Is That.